O Oriens by Malcolm Geet. First light, and then first lines along the east, to touch and brush a sheen of light on water, as though behind the sky itself they traced the shift and shimmer of another river flowing unbidden from its hidden source. The day spring, the eternal primavera, Blake saw it too, Dante and Beatrice are bathing in it now, away upstream. So every trace of light begins a grace, in me a beckoning, the smallest gleam, it's somehow a beginning and a calling. Sleeper, awake! The darkness was a dream. For you will see the day spring at your waking. Beyond your long last line, the dawn is breaking. The fifth Advent antiphon reflection of Malcolm Geet's sonnet, O Oriens. First light, the day spring, sunrise or morning star, or its first experience, a new beginning, millennium, or the hope of new life to come, a light to bring us out of darkness. On August the 11th, 1999, the last year before the beginning of a new millennium, I awoke early in hope to witness on this historic day a total solar eclipse in Britain. The timing was perfect, being in North Devon, only a short car journey away from Cornwall, where totality was expected. However, cloud cover forced me to stay put and settle down by 11 in the morning on Hilltop Field, overlooking Dartmoor to the south, armed with a welder's helmet. Darkness crept in as the sun was increasingly obscured by the passing moon. All living creatures were shocked, totally disorientated by experiencing the sudden disruption of what started out as a fine summer's day, now transforming to a clammy twilight chill with an eerie, isolated silence that seemed intent to last for eternity. It was surreal. Not to disappoint, though, all of us present thankfully were rewarded by the vision we wanted to see, as the moon's shadow moved on. A thin slither of crescent sun managed to break through a gap of smothering clouds. Deeply moved by this wonder, we couldn't help being filled by the presence of God's grace. As light intensified bit by bit, normality recovered and our confidence restored. A rather confused cockerel on the farm broke the silence with its second morning crow of the day. Insects hummed, birds sang, and farm animals did their bit to restore order. Geet writes, to touch and brush a sheen or light on water. These words immediately recollect inner thoughts when engrossed in watercolour painting, especially with the technique of wet on wet. The brush, laden with water and pigment, rests on pre-soaked paper. Each added layer of paint begins to travel its own way to other soaked areas. It flows, separates, oozes within lines, finding its permanent place to rest, and gradient tones weaken from dark to light. All this is abruptly disrupted by a dry brush stroke laden with vibrant red, orange and yellow hues that draws a line eastward on the horizon. A line that strikes. It shimmers, shines and beckons and sings against the dull, darkened hues present. The ball of the sun merges into the scene. Its intense light reflected on nearby clouds, the crest of a wave at sea, buildings and trees creating shape and form, as well as casting shadow that gives depth and distance. The sun arises in all its glory. Geet calls the day spring the eternal primavera, the day spring from on high. It is referred to in Luke chapter 1, verses 78 and 79. By the tender mercy of our God, whereby the day spring from on high hath visited us, referring to the Messiah as the light of us all, who sit in darkness and the shadow of death, to guide our feet into the way of peace. The fifth great O antiphon is calling Christ the Orion, the dawn, the coming of the new Messiah as a newborn baby who sees the first light of day. And we will visit him, for he will be amongst us. Geet says Blake saw the day spring too, through the vision of Dante and Beatrice. Blake was mesmerised by the sheer beauty of Beatrice, as a vision that represented the beauties of heaven. She becomes a symbol of the wonder of divine grace. Dante sees her spiritually as a mirror upon which divine love is reflected, and consequently serves as a pilgrim's bridge to salvation. Malcolm Geet wrote this beautiful, inspiring sonnet, out of which we can choose to take many different paths. The thought that inspires me for Advent today is that despite all our troubles, we can choose to live in hope. The smallest gleam of light out of darkness is a beginning and a calling. We must put aside the darkness and awaken ourselves to the day's spring and be blessed with a new dawn, still breaking for us all beyond the horizon, beyond the last line drawn into eternity, excited for the day our Saviour Jesus Christ lives among us, so that we may abide in him and he in us.